Book of Heaven, Volume 27, February 6, 1930. Effects of living in the divine will and in the human will. How its way of operating in the soul symbolizes the creation. How it does small things first and then the great ones. I continue my abandonment in the divine volition. My poor mind is always as though crowded with what regards a will so holy. Even more, it seems to me that my thoughts plunge into its sea of light and then come out like many messengers that bring many beautiful news from within that sea in which they have been. And one wants to say something, another something else about that fiat, which they glory in knowing and in receiving its life. And I delight in listening to them, and many times I cannot say with words the many beautiful news which my thoughts bring me about the sea of light of the divine will. And I feel the need for Jesus to guide me, to feed me the words, otherwise I would not be able to say anything. So, while I was in the sea of the divine fiat, my sweet Jesus, making himself seen in the act of helping me to change into words what my mind was thinking, told me,
"My daughter, the effects of living in my divine will are admirable. My fiat keeps the creature always turned toward heaven, and it makes her grow not of earth but of heaven. And since my will is one with my same will that operates in the creature, this same will of mine places the creature in order with her Creator and keeps manifesting to her who the one is who created her, how much he loves her, and how he wants to be loved. And placing her before the divine reflections, it makes her Creator delight, by dint of reflections, in making grow and portraying his image in she who possesses the will of he who created her, and makes her will one with his. And since my fiat keeps her always turned toward heaven, nor does she have the time to look at the earth, because she is absorbed by the Supreme Being, and even if she looked, all things convert into heaven, because wherever it rains, my will has the virtue of changing the nature of things. So, everything is heaven for the creature who lives in my divine will. She grows for heaven, because the heaven of my divine will reigns in her soul. On the other hand, one who lives of human will is always turned toward herself, and by her looking at herself, the human will keeps uncovering for her what is human, and places her in the reflections of what exists in the low world, in such a way that it can be said that she lives of earth and grows without the likeness of the one who created her. There is such difference between one and the other, that if creatures could see it, all would love and yearn to live in my fiat, and they would abhor living of human will, and would hold it as the greatest misfortune, which makes them lose the purpose and the origin for which they were created. It would happen as to a king who lays down his crown, his royal garments, descends from his throne, and clothes himself with dirty rags, feeds himself with filthy foods, and lives in a stable together with the beasts of his passions. Would the lot of this one not to be cried over? Such is the one who lets himself be dominated his human will.
After this, I continued thinking about the many things that my beloved Jesus has operated in my poor and little soul, his so many loving ways, such that if I wanted to tell them all, it would be impossible for me. But who can say what I was thinking, and the reason why my little intelligence was as though crowded with what had happened to me in my existence? But while I was prey to so many thoughts, my highest and only good Jesus, clasping me all to himself, with unspeakable tenderness told me,
"My daughter, my way of operating in your soul symbolizes the whole creation. Great work was the creation, but since our works are orderly, we contented ourselves with creating small things first, the heavens, the stars, the sun, the sea, the plants, and everything else. That is, small in comparison with the creation of man, who was to surpass everything and hold supremacy over everything. And when things must serve the one who must master them and be their king, as great as they might be or appear, they are always small compared to the one whom they must serve. So, After the universe was created and all things were at their place of order, waiting for the one around whom, like an ordered army, they were to line up so as to serve him and obey his wishes, we created man. All created things and his very creator poured themselves over him to sing to him, our eternal loves, and say to him, we all have the mark of our creator, and we pour it over you, who are his image. Heaven and earth made complete feast, and our very divinity celebrated with so much love the creation of man, that at the mere memory of it, our love seethes so strongly that overflowing, it forms immense seas around us. Now the kingdom of my divine will is greater than the work of creation, and therefore it can be said, it is the call for our divine being to operate more than creation itself. So, everything I did in your soul at the beginning symbolizes the creation. I wanted you all to myself and all mine, so as to be free to do what I wanted. I wanted the void of everything in your soul, to be able to lay my heaven, and the many sayings on the virtues were stars which, practiced by you in the way wanted by me, I used in order to adorn the heaven I had extended in you. Therefore, I wanted to redo in you and be repaid for everything evil and unworthy that the human family had done. In order to call back the son of my divine fiat, it was necessary to prepare with decorum the one who was to receive, as the first, the life of my divine will. This is why then I made flow seas of grace, the most beautiful flowerings, almost as in the creation of man, in whom my divine fiat was to reign. The same in you. Everything I did placed itself in waiting, like a divine army, to form the cortege of the Son of my eternal will. And just as in creation, we abounded so much in creating so many things that were to serve man, but because this man was to let my divine will reign within himself, the same in you. Everything has been done so that my will would find its place of honor and of glory. This is why it was necessary that first I was to prepare you with many graces and teachings. As small things compared to the great Son of my divine volition, which, with its many manifestations, while making itself known, formed its life in order to reign and form its first kingdom in the creature. Therefore do not be surprised. This is the order of our wisdom and providence, which does small things first and then the great, as cortege and as decorum of the great things. What does my divine fiat not deserve? What is not owed to it? And what has not been done by it? Therefore, when it is about my will or about making it known, heaven and earth prostrate themselves, reverent, and all adore in mute silence even just one act of my divine will.